Time to conclude our brief interlude between seasons 1 and 2 to get some more backstory on Kanan. Now take a journey with me as I continue to watch through Star Wars Rebels for the first time. Well, hello there. My name's Jeremy, and welcome back to Freeform Disney. Now it is time for part 2 to the Kanan Comics. And quick reminder that Sunday at noon PST, that's 8 p.m. over there looking at London time or UTC, that's when I'm going to go ahead and do the live stream for Rebels Season 2, and I'm going to be doing the first 4 episodes. So come join me for that watch party, and I'm sure it's going to be fun. Okay. Without further ado, let us finish our dive into the character of Kanan. Now, where the last comic was called Kanan the Last Padawan, this one is simply called Star Wars Kanan, so that's what these 6 are called. Kinda different, but still the same overall story, right? So we continue in the present from where we left off. Kanan's over in a Bacta tank, and this is kind of our continuing framing device here. So now off to the past. This time we are at the Jedi Temple, one day away from the initiate trials for Caleb, or Kanan, but we're gonna go back to calling him Caleb here, I suppose. So further back in time, and we get to see fellow younglings Tai Azuma and Samo Quid, and they're all going through it and getting some fighting going, and well, I guess Caleb gets nicked and off to the infirmary. Okay, Yoda, why'd you send him off for that? I'm confused, but hey, you do you, man. Little green man. Well, anyway, he's perfectly fine. The medical droid's like, why the heck are you even here? But I guess the real point was we wanted to give a little tease, because hey, look, there's a woman in a Bacta tank. Now, why would we care about a woman in a Bacta tank? Well, there's about only one person we probably figured this has to be, right? And it is! It's Master Depa Billaba. And we get to see her talking to Obi-Wan and Mace and Yoda, and that's only too cool to actually get to see, even briefly just see those 3 in. And hey, we actually get to see a little more of them in a moment. First though, we get to go ahead and see the initiate trials themselves in kind of like a montage mode, as well as testing Master Depa Billaba to make sure she's still okay. But anyway, then on to the Jedi Council, and yeah, she gets back on. She talks about how she failed them on a massive scale, which at this point I'm going, okay, what happened exactly? But that's all we hear for now? Well, we move on, and while those 3 all pass their Jedi Initiate trials, an interesting set of 3, you could almost set up a little set of comics or something on these 3, it would seem, on their journeys through as younglings. Something like that. Well, there was an interesting piece. Remember we talked about Caleb questioning things a lot? Well, here we see him questioning, hey, why is this the process we even used for the initiate trials? To which the Jedi teacher who's there is just like, well, that's the process that's been used for hundreds of years. That's it? You have no better reason than that? Essentially, the Jedi teacher tries to strawman him, dismiss him, and use occult tradition to shut him up. Go Jedi. Can't see anything rotten in the state of Denmark right there, can ya? Hello. Yeah. Well, anyway, extra little random piece here. Just in this one piece, we have Anakin and R2 in the frame as the same 3 new potential Padawans we have are walking down the hallway the opposite direction. Nice little touch, nice little Easter egg in there. Heck, if we'd ever gotten this kind of thing animated, yeah, you could have done all kinds of fun Easter eggs that way, right? Well, then we get to hear what really happened with Billaba. Apparently, she had 90% casualties against Grievous in her last battle. Whew, dang, that's some serious casualties. And she somehow survived the thing too. And, well, the other 2 of his new potential Padawans are not so hot on her, let's just put it that way. She's cursed, she's this, that, yeah. But Caleb's not buying that. So he actually goes and directly talks to her about what he heard. Which, yo, nice. And I love Billabaw's response. That wasn't exactly a politic choice to go do that, but perhaps a wise one. Yeah, indeed. And then her response of, am I damaged goods? Perhaps the answer is yes. Ooh, yeah. She clearly fears causing more casualties and more grief and has not quite come to terms with herself yet on this point and what happened. Yeah. And then all of a sudden it's cliffhanger time because hey, we love our cliffhangers on the end of each of these. So boom, there's an intruder and bombs are starting to go off. Bum, 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 bum. Hey, right off the bat, number 7. Ooh, I enjoyed this. Going back to the Jedi Temple, getting a little more in our different Jedi, getting to see some more of some of our characters like Caleb and Billaba. Heck, I might even be enjoying this more than the others just off the bat here. Which isn't to say the others didn't have their really good moments, because they did. Well, anywho, off to number 8. Now this is right back to our framing device again, so we're back in the present. Because we find out Kanan, hey, he got injured badly enough, lost enough blood that he's got to stay in that Bacta tank for at least a few weeks. And now the Imperials have them surrounded. Yeah. But really, that's it. It's just a framing device and a tease. So hey, back to the past. So here, hey, it's General Cleve again, but this time General Cleve is our quote-unquote bad guy. And we're hearing him set up this whole big plan because a statement has to be made. The Jedi have sided against liberty, against justice. This cannot go unpunished. Speaking of how the Jedi might be viewed in certain parts of the galaxy, yeah. Considering a lot of people who are part of the separatist movement would view themselves that way. Liberty, justice, self-determination, etc., etc. What a mess. But I love how this also shows that, yeah, it's not really a black and white situation. It is shades of gray as to what's going on here. And both sides are being manipulated by the Sith. Good times. Yeah. Which we actually touched on in the first half, too. Well, anyway, we had a couple other Easter eggs. We find out the plans that he got for the Jedi Temple were paid for from Bane himself for when he attacked the Jedi Temple. And, well, guess what? The Jedi, in their arrogance, barely upped their security. Oh, Jedi. Your hubris will be the end of you. Oh wait, too soon? Yeah. Oh, and Grievous also in there manipulating this. Yeah, just because we gotta have him in there too. So the plan is to essentially topple the main tower of the Jedi Temple, show them that they're not invincible, show the galaxy the Jedi aren't invincible. Yo. Obviously, they won't be successful on this, but hey, let's go watch what happens. So back over to the Jedi Temple. And we get this neat little piece with Samo, Quid, and the other younglings. Or, well, I guess not all younglings. I guess some of them are potential Padawans at this point. I'm not sure what the right terminology is there for someone who's passed the initiate test, but isn't yet technically a Padawan. I don't know. Anyway, we get a neat appearance from Master Drawlig over there who pops on in with a fun little line. Safety is a flexible concept, but you should still probably stay here for now. He seems cool. It seems like it would be fun to see more of him. Just these little pieces, just getting to see people just a little bit. It's nice. And then back up to Caleb and Billaba. And well, Caleb is figuring out what's going on. He's hearing the bombs are being dropped down because the two of them are up on the upper floors while most of the other people are down way below responding to the bombs, which are being dropped through the ventilation shafts. But Caleb really wants to go respond, as you would think he would as a Jedi, but Billaba back to being incredibly unsure of herself, so she does not. And it's a nice touch, and well, Caleb goes racing off by himself. And he might be a little outclassed right here, because he gets up to the roof, and well, there we have our Kage warrior. And this is Rackham Seer of Corzite, who's a captain of the Confederacy of Independent Systems. And, I mean, you almost feel for him because he's heavily convinced of his own rightness in this and how wrong the Jedi are. He has a good little speech to Caleb. Look, kid, you're too young and probably too indoctrinated to understand, but you're on the wrong side here. The Jedi are the bad guys fighting against freedom and self-determination, and I'd rather this job not include killing Padawans. I mean, really, he sees himself as quite a good guy. As much as we might call him the antagonist or the bad guy, you could probably write a thing that was actually from Seer's point of view, viewing himself as the protagonist in the story. Easily done. Similar to the point that we write a story with the Jedi seeing themselves as the protagonist as they're busy being manipulated by Palpatine into this entire war and everything they're doing. So, yeah, heroes on both sides, right? And what a mess everywhere. It's such a bloody mess. Well, anyway, he tries telling Caleb to go run. And Caleb, well, Jedi never run. An interesting piece, especially when you consider what happens eventually where he does end up finally running. Especially when that seems core to him about this whole idea of Jedi never running. So I like this. It's just a nice another core piece of Caleb and who he is. Well, again, he's outmatched by Seer, but luckily he bought enough time for Billabot to get to her senses and come the heck up there and go save her. Well, I guess he's not her Padawan yet, but save a young Jedi anyway. And Rackham Seer, after he's defeated, he essentially ends up killing himself, really, because he does not want the mercy of tyrants like the Jedi. Woo! Yeah, wow. Now, even though Caleb is as young as he is, she realizes she needs someone with her. And she's resistant at first, but yeah, she does end up asking Caleb to be her Padawan, as we, kind of know she does, of course. And here's another interesting piece that goes against some of what we talk about on the Jedi. His friends, not happy for him. Fear and envy, actually, from his friends on him getting picked as a Padawan to a Jedi Master like that. Woo! Not the Jedi way. But I love, again, showing a little more behind the curtain even on the Jedi in this case. And hey, a few weeks later we find out he's gotten his Kyber crystal and his lightsaber, and we are heading off to the planet Cardoa. She's got a whole new battalion, and it's led by survivors of the old one, including Commander Gray and Captain Styles. We might just know a little bit from that first half. And hey, so far I'm enjoying the stories in the back half of this set of 12 better than the front half, which I'm intrigued by. Well, anyway, there we go. That was number 8. Hey, let's just move right on up to 9. Oh, first off, our framing device. Taphusk led the Imperials there. Dun dun dun. And that's pretty much it. Back to the past again. So we're off on his first mission as a Padawan and Billabot's first mission, well, since her massive defeat. We get to see a little training, and hey, now we get to meet a whole bunch of clones, including ones, of course, we've seen. Well, actually, I think we've seen all of these ones before. Commander Gray, Captain Styles, Sergeant Soot, and Corporal Big Mouth, who I think are the 2 that Caleb killed personally when they all turned on them after Order 66. Whew, and on top of all of this, they are gathered around a fire on this planet. Oh, there are definitely so many echoes of the future and all of that. It's, oh man, beautifully done. Nice choice on these echoes here. Now, those 4 apparently are the only ones left from her old command. So they also found some other old guns from some of the other squads and were able to bring some of them in, and then a whole lot of really green clones were brought in. And hey, we see the continuing issue, which I haven't always mentioned it, but it comes up again and again about Caleb being called Kid and how much he hates being called Kid. Dang, does he hate it. And there was this nice piece where Caleb goes ahead and gets a mailer rune from Corporal Big Mouth. So he's gotten one from Corporal Big Mouth, he's gotten one from Casimir, and we have a mailer rune fruit used over in the actual show too. There's a lot of use of this. It's really intriguing, actually. So definitely I can see mailer rune fruit being really important to Caleb, and what an interesting extra layer to that fruit that I never would have had before. Well, okay. What's going to happen on this planet? Well, Grievous ends up sending Colonel Coburn Seer to attack Billabot, who, by the way, is the brother of our recently dead Kage warrior over on Coruscant. And while we're at it, before the battle starts, we get to meet a new clone, CT-1157, who is a completely green clone, who forms a friendship with Caleb, and also gets called Kid quite a bit by the other clones, so hey, a little bit of bonding there too. And hey, Caleb is loving battle. He says he should be scared, but he's exhilarated. He's loving this. Maybe a little too much. He gets a little too far away from the clones and actually gets shot twice actually, and he almost ends up dying because Billabah's off going ahead and doing a different diversionary tactic to try to win this fight. So yeah, and well, if it weren't for new clone 1157 there, he would have actually died. Yo. Well, anyway, the battle is won. Billabah helps win that, and well, we see some aftermath, and we find out CT1157 ends up getting a name. He's called Stance, and he got a commendation for his valor. Caleb got a good bit of time over on a Bacta tank. Yeah. And we find out we're going to go off to the planet Magito next. And we get our little setup for next time, because we see General Grievous, who is neither pleased nor surprised with Colonel Sear. So clearly setting up a confrontation with Grievous, which we kind of knew was coming anyway. Billabah kind of had to have that happen again, considering her bad defeat against Grievous. Man, these would work great as episodes. The battles would be so good in a show. This could have been a big multi-episode arc going through all this. Man, it would take some time too. Yeah, anyway, well done. Loving it still. This is not probably as strong as the two before, I'll certainly say that. But still, yeah, definitely nicely done. Ready for the next. And hey, we're on to number 10. And we start our framing off, well, with a little bit more of fighting going on with the Imperials. And that's it, back to the past. Oh, we get a nice little piece between Stance and Caleb, because it seems Stance was actually waiting on Caleb the whole time he was in that Bacta tank. And really, they built a big connection, both before that and also then Stance actually saving Caleb's life made a big difference too. Well, anywho, we are now off to war-torn Magito. And this is the third battle of Magito, apparently. Oh, and by the way, I love Caleb talking about how he's got a really steep learning curve. You don't say. How young is he and out here in the middle of battle like this? Yeah, that's a steep learning curve. Dying. And well, given everything going on, we get this talk from Master Billabah to Caleb about not all sacrifices. It's so easy to dismiss. There's going to be loss, inevitable loss, painful loss. But that can't prevent the true Jedi from taking risks, from surrendering oneself to a higher purpose. Whee! Foreshadow, foreshadow, foreshadow. Oh man, you want to talk about loss. When you were talking about loss and inevitable loss and painful loss, you were probably talking about a way smaller scale than that. Oh, dying. Yeah, that's coming not too long. Well, anywho, we get to see our big battle piece this time. And that's an ambush of Billabah, Caleb, and Stance. And they've got to hold off for 4 minutes. Again, would have made a great thing to visually have to watch through. It was good enough here too. Interesting thing, we got this huge assist by Skull Squadron that helped save them. A group of Mandalorians led by Fen Rao. So that was interesting. Didn't even know. I said, the name sounds familiar, but I'm not placing it for anything, so. Yeah. I don't think we saw him anywhere in Clone Wars. Anyway, obviously they make it through and they get back over to base camp, which is kind of deserted at the moment. And well, it's not going to be deserted for long and things don't go well. Remember that whole foreshadowing of the inevitable loss? Well, it wasn't just foreshadowing that, but it was foreshadowing something much sooner. Because Stance gets killed by a Kage warrior with a vibroblade. Boom! Right in front of Caleb. Wow. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yikes. Oh, and for bonus points, Billabah is going to be a little busy because Grievous also shows up. And that's it. This was a really short one, but it was still good, definitely. Although I hope for a little more meat in the next one. On to number 11. We're on to the second to last already. Whoa. Quick framing device. We find out the Imperials won their little fight there and everybody's captured. Dun 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 dun. Back to the past. Okay, so Stance is killed. And then on top of all that, then our Coburn Seer over there just essentially degrades him at the same time. And it's just a clone, who cares? He's not even worth his life anyway, or blah, 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 blah. It's like, yo. Yeah, man. Ay. Unsurprisingly, this gets to Caleb just a teensy bit. Dark haze of fear and anger comes over him, as he says, and for the first time in his life, he wants to kill. Whoa. Yeah. Well, in the meantime, Bilbo is nowhere able to help because she's busy fighting Grievous. And it's not exactly a small fight. Well, you gotta know how strong Grievous is, yeah. And meanwhile, the clones are trying to come in to save her because Commander Gray and Captain Styles, and oh man, we get a line that you just hate to love, love to hate. Commander Gray says, "We failed her once. We will never fail her again." Well, other than murdering her after getting Order 66, I suppose. That might slightly be failing her. Yo, that's just painful. Dang. And then we get to go back to Caleb, who is tempted by the dark side, most certainly tempted by the seductive dark side, but turns away from it. Because, as he says, even a Padawan can see that is not the way. Seems to be a bit more of a teaching moment, really, in what happens here. This can't be the touch with the dark side that was referenced in the show. It has to be something that happened later, because, I mean, that can't be it. I mean, I would hope it would be a lot more than that, because it is just the lightest rush. And he rejected it without too much difficulty, it seems, too. Well, anyway, still gotta wait to go ahead and see that later. I'm assuming there's something that happens later. And hey, maybe, heck, who knows? Maybe it happened in the book that I didn't read, too, for all I know. No idea. Well, anyway, he ends up beating Seer, and, well, Seer, just like his brother, doesn't want mercy at the hands of a tyrant. Might have heard this before. And, well, he ends up setting himself on fire in this final attack to try to take out Caleb, and Caleb ends up killing him. Which I guess, according to Caleb, was his first kill. Yo. And after that's done, that means the clones and Caleb are able to go help Billabah, who's able to essentially get the upper hand in her fight, and Grievous runs off. Yeah. So that's essentially the end of the third battle of Megiddo. And it's an interesting set of lines from Caleb afterwards, talking about how he lost his first friend, taken his first life, how those wounds will never fully heal. Well, can't imagine they would. Wonder if it will come up in the show somewhere. I wonder if it would. I mean, clearly Kanan tries to keep all of this completely locked away in a separate world for him, but just saying. And then also, while we're talking about all that, he also talks about war no longer seeming romantic and exciting, and, well, except he feels so sure of his place, too. And it kind of does seem like it gets a little more romance and excitement again once we're off onto Collar, but yeah, probably after the events of Collar. Ooh, I don't know if it ever would quite have that romance and excitement again. Oh, Caleb. Kanan. And then we find out their next mission is Collar. Oh, man, he's a Padawan for so little time when it comes to it, dang. So he's going on very little training when it really comes to training Ezra later. He just doesn't have a lot himself. Wow. Well, anyway, then it is time to head off back to the present, and he breaks out of the tank and saves the crew. Not really a cliffhanger in the traditional sense, actually, this time. Kind of more of a wrap-up, almost. Well, anyway, this one was a good episode. It touched on all kinds of things, the dark side, etc., loss. No, I definitely enjoyed this one. And hey, there's only one left. Feels kind of like what we did with the first half, where the first 5 were really the main part, and then we have an epilogue. Similar here. So, number 12. And Kanan is here narrating all the way off in the present, talking about how it was a simple milk run that was supposed to be anyway. And then it felt like it took practically a year to work through all the complications. Which actually makes me wonder, how long exactly did it take? And he was supposed to be in the tank for a few weeks, obviously wasn't. And how long did everything afterwards take? Who knows, right? Well, the ghost is finally leaving, but Kanan and Ezra are sticking around for the time being. And that's because apparently they got a message from an old friend. And hey, they're traveling with Gamma Key, so we get to see him a little more. And, well, a little third person alert there on Kanan Jarrus talking about himself. Ezra finds it a little odd for some surprising reasons. Well, apparently that old friend is going to be Morphizo Moraga, who we saw way back at the end of the 5th comic. Because that's where Caleb went after he took the ship and went away from Casimir. Well, anyway, off they go to go find Morphizo, and, well, they don't find him at first because it's Morphiza, his wife, and we find out Morphizo had actually joined a rebel cell and ended up getting captured by the Imperials and taken to the planet Alon. Well, but guess what? Remember the escape his old ship? well, the escape is over on that same planet, so Morphizo and Morphiza had been keeping it safe for him. So that's kind of cool. That ship has to pop into Rebels at some point, right? So off to the planet Lawn, and we're off to the Ilmek Island spaceport. Ezra gets to go try to lure away the stormtroopers using this line about someone painting graffiti. Who could he be referencing? A nice funny reference to Sabine. Obviously she's not actually there. And, well, it didn't work for Ezra anyway, and he's gonna have to go fight those Imperial stormtroopers, but yeah. And then Kanan goes off to go rescue Morphizo. And, well, Morphizo is apparently being held by Imperial officer Vice Admiral Sloane, who I guess Kanan knew as Captain Sloane, and tracking him was her hobby, I guess? Oh, okay. Then we see a note actually on the page that makes a reference to the novel A New Dawn. So I guess whatever this interaction with Captain Sloane and Kanan came back during that New Dawn book that gives more backstory on Kanan and Hera. Well, someday maybe I'll catch that too. So I suppose I won't catch too much here, although maybe the show will give us once over on a couple pieces of it later. I don't know. Who knows? We'll see. Interesting piece here though. Nice connection if you know more there, and even without, I think it works well enough. I get the idea that they've had the past interactions. Well, anyway, she's really on to him and his past, not knowing he's a Jedi yet, it doesn't seem. But she's kind of tracked out that he didn't exist before Morago. Yeah. And Kanan has to use his Jedi powers to break out. That might be a giveaway later. Well, unsurprisingly, they all escape and get the heck out of there. And then, who shows up? It's our recently dead Inquisitor. So he shows up and talks to Sloane on the track of Kanan and the others. And well, then we're back to Collar to go end this whole thing out. So Gamma Key's taking care of everything for them. And other interesting little piece, Ezra apparently was helped out by a random guy. I'm just going, Janus Casimir, right? And yeah, because our last little piece is that we actually see Janus Casimir and good old Cleve talking on their ship. Now, for extra funny points, Casimir didn't actually know who he was helping out in that alley, but part of why he went and helped him out was apparently Ezra reminded him of Caleb. Oh, that was a cute little touching end, and also tying Casimir and Cleve back in there right at that point. We've got to see the two of them in the show at some point, right? I mean, that's not the end of seeing Casimir and Cleve. We don't do all this and then set them up at the end here too and never see them again, right? Well, who knows? Maybe they'll pop up in The Mandalorian soon, for all the heck I know. It certainly could be alive by then. Well, anyway, it did a nice job of tying everything together. I was impressed. A good job of tying these different mini strings they had going, while also leaving some loose ends open to potentially be explored later. So, love this. And heck, first off, before all of this, I would never have guessed that Kanan was keeping all of these things as secrets from Hera. That surprised me right there. So that was an interesting direction. And man, I have so many questions right now about what may or may not pop up in the show later. And don't tell me, I don't want to hear, of course. No spoilers on that. But I certainly hope that some of these characters will pop up. Heck, this was really enjoyable. And it's interesting on the timing. Clearly the timing seems like it's the first half of season 1 somewhere in there. Because Ezra's with them, the Inquisitor's alive. But more importantly, it does not seem like Ezra has his lightsaber yet, given the weapon he's using and all, because otherwise he'd be using the lightsaber as a blaster, I think. So, given that he's not doing that, this has to be like first half of season 1 in the time frame. Well, anyway, no, this was really enjoyable. I really liked this. So many good things in here, and I've got so much more knowledge on Kanan now. Wow, nice, and got to meet a number more clones along the way. And for what it's worth, the second half, these 6, were my favorite of the 2 halves. Although both halves were really good and really had some good spots. I just loved getting another look into the Jedi, and hey, we got to focus on Caleb as a Jedi, even for as brief a time as we really got to see. And also, hey, Jedi Master Depa Billaba, which was cool. Heck, there were so many great new characters. Heck, some of them that I hope will show up in Rebels at some point. I definitely want to see Cleve and Casimir. Gamma Key would be great to see pop up again. How about our Imperial Vice Admiral Sloane? No, there's a good few people. Well, anyway, definitely gave me a bit more background and more appreciation for Kanan, and frankly, it's gonna make it harder for other characters to top him the next time I do one of these character rankings. But you never know. It all depends on what we see. Or maybe I shouldn't count the comics for the rankings. Maybe I should just count the show. I don't know. Who knows? I guess I'll decide when I get there. Well, anyway, I definitely enjoyed going through this with all of you. And hey, let me give that one last little reminder that the next Rebels video is going to be the live stream watch party this Sunday. And that's going to be the first 4 episodes of season 2 at noon Pacific time. We'll see you then. And hey, in the meantime, well, what about you? What did you think about this second half right here? Was it the better half for you, or was it the first, or maybe you watched in chronological order? And who was your favorite character from this past time period? Now that all of them are in here. Well, anyway, let me know down below in the comments. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching. And if you can, it definitely helps if you like the video, give it a share, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you back here tomorrow for another new episode of Freeform Disney. Have a magical day, and may the Force be with you. Always.